Hello, everyone. My name is Susan Kimmel. I am the Consortium and Member Engagement Manager here at MISBO, and that's just a super long title for somebody who helps connect our member schools with our consortium partners to see if there's a match and to help them save money and do their job better. So with that, welcome to our Maps 101 coffee talk today. I'd love to introduce Richard and Bjorn, and I'm going to turn it over to you and let you get started.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Hello, Diane. Welcome aboard.
Hi.
To the Maps 101 presentation today. Since you're the only one, I think we'll do this a little bit differently. Just tell me a little bit about where you're out of and what school you're at and where. And
Sure. I'm at the Gilman School in Baltimore, Maryland. We are a pre-K through 12 school that uses Maps 101, and just trying to find out more information about the next generation platform. We are renewing our subscription, which Bjorn and I have been emailing with our director of technology, or department change name, director of innovation and information and innovation. So just trying to get a better handle on the new platform, the next generation. And I work specifically with the upper school grades 9 through 12 and how I might use it with them. So our middle school uses it much more heavily than the upper school does. So just trying to learn more so that I can see how we can use it in the upper school.
okay, cool beans. So you haven't seen the new site. You haven't been on the new platform yet then?
I'm going to say no.
Okay.
It's a long story, but no, I need a whole orientation on how it works.
Fair enough. All right. So as you know, we what was it? 2021, we rolled out the new site, I think it was. But we've kept running them side by side because there's still a lot of schools that are on the classic site and we're using it, but we're getting ready now. We're trying to get everybody moved into the new site and get folks used to using it, because there are some changes. There's a lot of significant changes in there that I think your teachers and students are going to like. But it's still a switch into a new way of doing things that they'll have to, that it takes a little time to get used to and figure out. The biggest difference between them is that now we have added in the ability where teachers sign in with their own login. So each teacher has their own credentials that we can use that we're working on using to, well, one, teachers can favorite items now and save them, but it will also give us ability to do class rostering and let teachers more easily share that information directly with the students, instead of just having to necessarily post links and everything all the time for them to get there. And let me change. For some reason, it blocked me on. There we go. I'm not as familiar with Zoom. I was trying to get to something, and then let's go back to sharing the screen.
Yeah, if you share your whole screen, when you go from page to page, it'll share it. If you just click on a specific screen.
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm sorry, I got a contact that's acting funky all of a sudden. But anyway, so when teachers come in now, they're going to have a sign-in page. We have the option. Do y'all use ClassLink or Clever or Google for a single sign-on?
Yeah, we use Google.
So they will be able to use Google as their single sign-on. All it takes is having the teachers loaded in our system and credentialed, which we can do from a spreadsheet. So it's very easy. Or they can always just log in manually. Once they're in, they're going to see a brand new landing page. Across the top will be recommended or newer content that's been showing up. They'll get a walkthrough with the most recent Geography News networks on a carousel. So the Geography News network you should be familiar with from the classic site. And those are the articles we publish weekly that focus in on either current events or maybe historical events that for some reason are coming back around, like on Henrietta Lacks, which will be for Black History and Women's History Month.
Is it possible, it looks like you're reading off the screen, is it possible to share the screen with the next generation platform?
You mean with the students in the classroom, or?
With me now, so I can see as you're walking through.
I thought I hit the share screen. Oh, I see what I didn't do. One more button to push. There we go. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
I'm usually on Teams, not on Zoom. It's I'm having to rapidly learn a bunch of different presentation softwares as I go. Sorry about that. So yeah, so this is the so this is going to be the would be a Geography News Network article. We do publish these every week. And again, we're going to focus in on either historical events that are in that we need to talk about now. Again, this is African American Silver Black History Month, or we might focus on current events, as I believe one of the current ones we just did was on the Olympics. So we try to keep fresh information coming in for the students. These are available in Spanish about a week or so after they are published in English. And again, we do one of these every week. And as I stated, if you want to, one of the big changes we made was you'll notice the little blue heart here. That allows teachers to favorite items and have them stored on a favorites list. So if it's something they use all the time in the classroom or use regularly, they can tag those items and put them so they're not having to hunt them all the time. Now, teachers can still, just like they do in Classic, if you, depending on your curriculum, what you're using for a curriculum system or learning management system, they can still take this, let's pull the Roman Empire map. They could still just cut and paste that URL into the management system, and that hot link will work for them. The images in the middle, you can right click, copy image as or save image as, and that will download that central image to your computer, and then you can embed it like you might any other photo. Which is great if you have an internet service. Sometimes they go up and down. This way it's sitting right there resident on your computer instead of going like, oh my gosh, it's down, I can't share it. They have a PDF version of the map that they can download. Your license, even with Classic and with the new site, both include printing these maps. So if you need to run 20 or 30 copies for a classroom, you have the authority to do that. Non-commercial educational use only. So can't put them in a yearbook that you're selling, but you can certainly use them in the classroom. And then to blow it up, you could either use the PDF, or if you wanted to put it on the whiteboard, they'll have the Launch the Zoomify feature, which will let them put it up on the whiteboard in the classroom, size it, and you can zoom way in and you don't lose any of the resolution like you might on just a regular picture image. And if the teacher's using it still, the last feature we have on all our maps, we still have the map sketch button, which opens up that map image into a, oh, come on, zoom for me, a photo file where they can go in, you can draw on the map, you can write on it, and you can edit that map. Both teachers and students can make edits. They can save that map when they're done. They can print that map, and they can also easily share it with the teacher or other students. And we see this not only maybe on a map like this, but with the outline map collection that we have. You can get in and, hang on, y'all recover. I think, can I move that out of the way? There we go. If you have like an outline map, you could use that to create note taking, a quiz, have kids color it in and complete it and put details on one of the outline maps. So those basic features are going to be available on every single map that is that's in there. So that map sketch, that PDF, every one of our resources are going to have those. And I'm sorry, where'd you say, Gilman? Which state were y'all in again?
We're in Maryland.
Maryland. So the easiest way to find things in the site now, the old tabs have been replaced to the drop-down lists, but the easiest thing to do is if you want something, say on Maryland, just go in, type Maryland in the search bar, and we will get an entire list of things about Maryland. We wanted to create this to be a little more like a shopping experience. So when you go to the main, once you give that main term that you're looking for, the content filters match up with these green tags. So if you're looking for a map or an image or an article, we can just hit the content drop down and say, oh, there's one article on Maryland, and find out that there's one on Baltimore and Johns Hopkins. We might have an activity on Maryland, and these activities are going to be interactive maps that look at geography and climate, or maybe population and economics. And then there's about 30 maps. So one thing I really like that we've have improved since we first launched this was we've added these numbers in parentheses, so you know which of those areas have content in them and which ones don't.
Can I ask, since it's on the screen and these both have teacher editions and then I guess student editions, what's the
Correct.
difference between those?
So the difference is going to be, so the student editions are going to open up and they are going to be the walkthrough for the student. Whereas the teacher edition is going to have a little bit more, there's actually a PDF, I believe, that's included that gives a little more background information on what the objectives of this lesson are.
And so when the students log in, they obviously won't see the teacher edition version of it. The teachers only have access to that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, and that's part of having the teacher credentials in there so that the teachers only have that information. The students have their own set of credentials. So just like with the classic site, the students can either use a single shared credential or we can roster the students. Or let me change that. We can give the students credentials. We are still working on the actual rostering and creating a classroom part. But that's anticipated to be out soon. But one of these lessons with the interactive maps, you'll notice over here, we have the ask. So it'll give the students and even the teachers, it walks through, zoom and pan the map, find out where's the westernmost coastline, what large body of water is enclosed by Maryland and Virginia, why do people settle? So we're trying to get kids to not only look at the map, but also do that next critical thinking step of why do these events happen the way they do. The most things that you want to know up here just for interactivity is that there's a contents button and then a button that gives a legend. So if we were to pop up, say, the land use, and then now we can go look at the different ways land is used in the area, in this case around Maryland. This is a national map that we draw each of the states off of. So you can always back it up, and it's a great way to talk about, okay, how is the land in Maryland used versus maybe land in West Virginia? And why are those different? Why are those resources different? So all of these have those ArcGIS features. There's some measurement features that get into, we've got a map in here where students will measure the perimeter of a mall and maybe area of parking lots around it. So we try to build in activities that not only are built for social studies, but also for supporting science and math as well. Questions?
Just to clarify, so students right now, they would just use a generic login, all the students the same, but in the future, it could be a roster or their own Google single sign-on. Is that right?
Correct. Right now, the students could use their Google single sign-on. And I
Okay.
have a school district in Texas that loaded like 25,000 students that way, and they use it all the time.
Mhm.
I think they were using ClassLink. So it's kind of up to the school on what you want to do and how you want to handle it.
Okay.
There's a lot of districts just like having just give the kids one username and password because there's not a lot of, because we can't class roster. They don't want to get involved in moving kids from classroom to classroom or even building to building.
Mhm.
On the other hand, other districts, the district that did it here, Pflugerville, wanted it because they wanted to see specifically more data on what school buildings were using it.
Okay.
And one of the things by using those credentials under the old site, we just had Yeoman School, we had 500 page views or 1,000 page views, whatever. And we couldn't tell you anything about it. By having teachers at least logging in, we can kind of look at the teacher usage and even tell you, hey, Diane, this is your teacher who looks to be like the pro at this. And maybe we need to find out how they're using it and how we can transfer that and get more teachers involved.
Okay.
So it gives us a little bit more detailed usage characteristics that we can use to try to drive implementation.
Okay.
And that's proven, it proves useful out there because, as you know, it can vary from teacher to teacher. Some will use it because they get into it and get used to it, and other folks are a little bit more shy about, it's new technology, and maybe we just need a little extra training time with them to get them enthused about it.
Yep.
One way that we've had some great success is just having teachers share resources. That if one teacher is going to work on a chapter on US history, to share those resources they found that match up with the books they're using, because they're using the similar text, and share that with everybody so that they're not all having to sit down and do that over and over and over again on their own.
Just one other question.
Sure.
We use Canvas as our course management
Mhm.
system. And some of our other databases, they've integrated it so that we can actually put tabs to link to it, or teachers, instead of copying and pasting a URL, can
Uh-huh.
link to it directly. Is that something that you have or that you'll be working on?
We can ask about that in development. We do have Canvas as one of the single sign-ons, but I
Okay,
don't
great.
know that we are completely integrated with them down to that kind of linkage within the system.
Okay. The fact that it's Google single sign-on for Canvas is great. Thank
Uh-huh.
you.
Yeah, I think, that was one of the most important things we've been trying to get working. As we learned quickly, you've got to have the IT departments prefer having that than having let teachers manage their own user IDs. Now, one thing to keep in mind too is that when you pick up the Maps 101, even with Classic, you have this, is that we support, your license is for every teacher and every student in the building.
Mhm.
So if you've got your science teachers, have them come in and they can go to subjects and just hit science. And we can sort by alphabetically, by views, or I like using publication date just to get the most recent. There's a lot of great maps and articles. We just did one on those nesting fish, the fish they found under the Antarctic ice, that huge colony, where we not only have the articles, but you'll also see the one flag map where you can use the maps on their own. Things on ancient footsteps, which are archaeology stuff out of, I believe it was New Mexico that we pulled that article out of. So there's a ton of great materials, not only for your science, but also for math. This is where you can find, I think one of the first ones that pops up in here is the area and perimeter of the mall. So using maps and interactive maps so that kids can understand how you might use them to solve a problem.
Great.
So we want to make sure it's pushed out to everybody in the building. And then of course you can go, and then of course we still have our field trip library in here. It's underneath the collections. And these are those, I think y'all have had a chance. I know they're used a lot in middle school. I think in high school as well. They're a great way just to launch into a topic by having the big map, the storyboard across the bottom. And of course, the map's going to move with each of the different storyboard portions a little bit. You can read about it. You can pop the image out, and most of them will have a little PDF-based quiz at the end.
Okay.
Now, the PDF we're working on changing, but I'm not going to promise anything too quick because there's a lot in here. The districts, again, districts that I've seen using these, what they'll do is they'll put the PDF into their quiz, into their LMS system. And then if you're using like Google, and if you've got Google Quiz or Google scoring methods, just make a worksheet for the kids to answer. And that way it feeds right into the grade book.
Okay.
We don't have that kind of interoperability yet. I don't anticipate, because it's much more complicated than it looks.
I would imagine. And I haven't heard of our upper school teachers using that. So
yeah, and they may not. They may be going in. You can just go into maps, of course, and grab all our great maps. The other, though, we do have new underneath our interactive lessons are going to be our lesson maps. Now, these we have just started creating. They are more text-based, and I'm going to open up the teacher edition on this one because it shows a little bit. I see teachers using this a couple of ways. So the students will have a lesson in the middle, and this is on Abraham Lincoln. It's going to have essential questions throughout it, reading throughout it, and additional links. But what I've seen my teachers doing with it down in Birdville and a couple other places I work with here in Texas, the teachers like this part and tend to use this in the classroom. So they might still be using their textbook for Abe Lincoln, but the teaching notes we have about how to teach this to students that are on level, beyond level, an SEL focus, this is where the teachers are pulling the question, are pulling more as content surrounding and pulling that into then with their textbook. You can still give this kids an article because it's much more in-depth than what might be in the textbook. But if you don't have time, the teacher side over here just presents some great ideas on how to teach Abraham Lincoln. So one of the cool things is, since we're not really a curriculum, although we do support state standards, is that it's very easy to take this system, adapt it, and use it how you need it. And this is something that's not in the Maps 101 Classic site right now.
Okay.
Other questions and stuff. I know Susan was saying we had about 30 minutes and we're starting to bump up on that. So anything else you'd like to know? Ooh, how does it do this or want to see?
Not right now. It's helpful to have the walkthrough, so I appreciate being able to see it with somebody who knows what everything is.
It's I think you're going to find it a lot easier to navigate. The best place to start on almost anything is just start right from the search bar, because that's your quickest way to find things. Otherwise, all the tabs that you remember seeing on the Classic site, you can go right to the collection, and they're basically the same ones. The library is still there, the games are there, the interactive lessons have those lesson maps, and the GeoQuests and Geo Inquiries with the interactive maps on them. And then of course, Maps will have all of those great maps you're used to seeing are still in here. It's always neat to pull them up and see what the new ones are. Just hit publication date and just see, you know, our cartography team is always working to come up with some new stuff.
Okay.
And if you find there's something you need specifically, you can always let us know. I had to do for a couple of schools here, we found out we didn't have is it Swano, Southwest Asia, North Africa map? Because I guess that's taught as a region now in some world geography. So we didn't have an outline map for that. We're able to create it. We did a US biomes map that overlaid the biomes, but we didn't have it overlaying a physical or terrain map. So we kind of laid it out over the physical so that you could better match the mountain regions up with what biomes we're going through. So if there's stuff you need to meet standard, you can always let us know. And when our cartography team has free time, they're map artists for a reason. They love drawing up maps. So
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions, or Richard or Bjorn, anything else specific you want to show our member schools?
Bjorn, anything you want
to? No, I mean, the only thing I'd add is if you have schools that are interested or looking, we also offer 30-day free trials that they can reach out to us, and we can get them set up on that too.
Great, yes, and also reach out to me for pricing as well. We still have in the online portal, if you're out there looking, that's 2021 pricing, and Bjorn and I are working on the 2022 pricing, so we'll get that out there as well for the new portal when it opens. All right, well, thank you guys. I appreciate your time. Thank you, Diane, for jumping on, and hope that was informational for you.
It was. Thank you.
And Diane, if you got any questions, you know, of course, Bjorn and I are here to help out. So.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank y'all.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.